الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم. My respected brothers and elders, the word tasbih is about the most frequently used word in the namaz. In the ruku, we say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Then we get up and go into sajda, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. At the end of the namaz, Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun. So then we ask ourselves, what's in this tasbih that it's recited so much? We look up the translation, then we will find the word glory be to Allah Ta'ala. Then we ask people, what's the meaning of glory? They say tasbih. And what's the meaning of tasbih, glory? So door hai. You're taking the person in a circle. What is tasbih is glory, and what is glory is tasbih. So what is the meaning of tasbih? Then you check up the Urdu translation. They say Pak hai wo Zaat. That Allah Ta'ala is Pak. Then you ask yourself, Pak of what? Pak means pure. Pure against what? So it's our deen, and our deen we need to learn. We need to ask, and we need to learn all the time. There is no such a thing like stagnation in deen. If you stagnate, then you're going towards decadence. And you move, then you're moving towards purity and goodness. So there is no such a thing like stopping. At whichever point you are just wanting to progress. You do not know the next second could be the means of your Jannat. One action, one tasbih, one good word that you may have uttered, and that becomes a winning point. So every second, every moment is an opportunity, it's a blessing. So when you say tasbih, what you mean is Allah Ta'ala is pure against all type of human limitations. That's the actual meaning. He is pure from sleep. لا تأخذه سِنَةٌ ولا نوم. Not sleep, not even slumber. So if we try and keep awake, yes, we'll keep awake, but slumber may overtake us. Ung aa jayegi. In the colloquial language, say you'll fish. But that will happen. And Allah Ta'ala, nothing overwhelms Him, not sleep, not slumber. Then we got limitation in time. You don't come into this world on your own time, and you don't leave in your own time. That is also fixed. You come as He decreed, and you leave as He would decide. So you don't come as per your own discretion, nor do you leave with your decision. Then you got limitations of food and drink. Right? Can pull for a day, perhaps someone for 2 days. After that, you're starving, can't manage. In this lockdown, and what a fear overcome people, lines and lines queuing up for basic essentials, right? So what fear they've got, what panic they've got. So we've got limitations for that as well. And Allah Ta'ala has got no limitations, not for food, not for drink, not for age, not for time. So His glory, His greatness transcends time and place. Again, we've got limitations, our minds and our faculties, eyes, ears, etc. All the different faculties we've got, they also got some limitations. You can see to a certain point, beyond that point, you can't see. About 2 months ago, the scientists discovered that they got a super telescope, right? What they had before, now they got a super telescope, and they landed into space. Now they're seeing that the entire universe that we see is just a dot. So Allah Pak says that نَحْنُ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ فَلَوْلَا تُصَدِّقُونَ. We made you. Why don't you believe? Now you have to go around this whole chakkar and then come to the same conclusion that you are nothing, absolutely nothing. Just one dot in this entire, what they have discovered now. Now that is after so many thousands of years, they only discovered that this whole thing, this whole universe, the sun and the moon and all, whatever. They say that the sun is moving at about 9 million miles an hour. It's got about 2 types of movements. One is spinning and one is rotating. So, you know what is that speed? 9 million miles an hour. Now they discovered all this. But here, kiska karashma hai? Kiski kudrat ka karashma hai? It's a reflection of the glory of Allah Ta'ala. Then you look at the sun, you look at the old sun, right? And the rotation of the sun. Look at it from different dimensions. It's got to rotate at a certain speed. It will not move off that speed, right? Then it's got also to move at a certain slant. It will move at the same slant. Then it's also destined to move in a certain orbit. It will move in the same orbit. Slant, speed, orbit. Then it must move at a certain height. Right? From the time it's operating to now, did you ever see a difference? هل ترى من فطور فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور. Do you see any flaw in the whole creation, in the whole system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If there was a difference, right, it was a small difference, it just tilted a little more, or it just picked up speed or reduced speed, right? Or the height just changed. The whole universe, the whole earth could have just burnt or frozen. One of the two would have happened. But for the years that we know, it's moving with precision. To the second, Allah commanded the sun, you pass Marisburg at sunrise at this time, in this period of the year. From the time we know Marisburg till now, did you find any difference, any change? You'll pass Durban at this time will be the sunrise for Durban and district. Do you find any difference in that? Ye kiski qudrat ka karashma hai? Look at it. So when you're looking at Allah Ta'ala, is absolutely pure of any type of deficiency. Right? We will work, and after some period, we need to have a break. Right? 1 year, 2 years, holiday, go to the bergs, tables, bergs and all that, and just cool off, right? But did you ever hear the son saying, I'm operating so long now, give me a chance, I need to take a break as well. Did you ever hear that? You're driving a motor car, and the car says, after some time I need to go for a service. Yeah? Did you ever hear that the son needs to go for a service? It's moving and moving and moving, no servicing, no braking, absolutely nothing. Look at the qudrat of Allah. Say Subhanallah. So when he says subhanallah, then this is the meaning of subhanallah. No limitations, no deficiencies whatsoever. From the time Allah Ta'ala has made it till this day, you haven't seen anything. Sunset is exactly at the same time for the 1,000 years that we know, and sunrise is exactly the same time. You don't see a change in the slant, in the movement, in the orbit, in the height. Absolutely no difference. So therefore you'll find that the Quran Sharif got about 7 surahs commencing all with tasbih. Subhanalladhi asra, right? Again tasbih. Then Surah Hadid, Sabbaha lillah. Again tasbih. Then again move on Surah Hashar, again tasbih, Sabbaha lillah, right? Then you move on Surah Saf, again Sabbaha lillah. All starting with tasbih. Then you move on Surah Jumu'ah, again tasbih. 5. Then you move on Surah Taghabun, again tasbih. Do you see that? Then the last surah, Sabbihisma Rabbikal A'la, right? So in some hadith it's reported that Rasulullah would recite these surahs before sleeping. See all these surahs that commence with tasbih. So there must be some dynamic power in this tasbih for Rasulullah to recite these things before sleeping. Then the dynamism is so much that even some surahs are ending up with this. Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun, Surah Al-Safat. Isn't it ending with tasbih? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ, ending up with tasbih. يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Don't you see Surah Hashar? And ending up with tasbih again. So there must be something too dynamic for this thing to be repeated so much again and again. Person gets up, he breaks sleep, right? And after he breaks sleep, he recites the 4th kalima, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir. And then he reads Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Right? The hadith says in Bukhari Sharif and Abu Dawud Sharif, thereafter if he makes any dua, the dua will be answered. You get up at tahajjud, all the better. But if you don't have that courage to do that, then at least get up. If you can't get up, then recite the 4th kalima, recite the 3rd kalima in this sequence, and then make dua. And you see that dua will definitely get answered. But the dua, dil se aana chahiye. Must be from the heart. Whilst we were traveling today, so my friend is asking me, is there anything about wuzu? Any fazilat about wuzu? Explain some fazilat, some. So I didn't tell him at that time, because every moment, every time is not an occasion to give advice. Because people are not receptive. Now you're sitting at a table, someone is asking you for advice, then you know it's a different ambience. That ambience requires a little bit of different behavior. You can't talk of serious things. Hey, a person died when you're enjoying a bride. You can't do that. It's against etiquette. Yes, he died, but explain that on a different occasion. Not whilst we are sitting to have meals. Hey, wo to bahut bimar ho gaya. He's very sick. Don't speak about these things at the time we are eating. At that time, something relaxing, cheering to the mind, cheerful to the mind. Speak about these things here. That's an adab. As Mawlana Abraham Haq Sahib Rahmatullahi alayhi, he was the last Khalifa of Mawlana Thanvi Sahib Rahmatullahi alayhi. So, one of the ministers of UP, chief minister, had come to see him. And after recently, all his ministers used to come to this Buzurgana thing for duas. Hindu ke, Sai Baba ke, whatever Baba. All will come for duas. So that minister is asking Mawlana Abrar Sahib Rahmatullahi alayhi, ke wo shakhs to bimar the, ab unki tabiyat kaisi hai? That man was sick, how's he? Arey minister sahab, खाने के वक्त ऐसी बातें नहीं करनी चाहिए. See, that is called a man. See? When the majlis speaks a little bit straight, it's too aggressive. For more, he should speak straight. That was a minister, but nothing prevented him to tell him that this is not the occasion to say these things. So anyway, we are talking about, my friend is asking about wuzu and some of the fazilat. So it will take me a little bit of time to explain the fazilat for you to appreciate it. Right? So in my search in the Quran and Hadith, I found the most virtuous act. What is it? Comes under this verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu isbiru wasabiru warabitu. Be patient. Otherwise, this whole world, this whole design of this world is about patience. Refrain, abstain, refrain. Hold yourself, maintain your composure, don't lose yourself. That's the essence of Islam. Restrain, abstain, maintain your composure. Then you'll find that that's the essence of Islam at any given time. Even if you are in jihad, the midst of jihad, first butu, remain firm. Waskurullaha kathira. Amanus biru. So sabr is when something happens that's against your nature, against your tabiat, and you have to restrain. So that's what happens all the time. Ramadan time, against your tabiat now, refrain. You're walking in the street, there's something exciting. Now don't look at the excitement, just restrain. There's a lot of things exciting, we don't have to mention it, but a lot of things will be exciting, but just restrain. You're walking in a plaza or in a mall, and the music is blasting. Restrain again. Don't say that I need to switch it on and enjoy the music after that. No, you party to it. If you are listening to it and you're enjoying all the sounds and all that, then you are party to the music. So the person that likes it, he likes it. Kana kaman shahidaha. He'll be rated like the person that actually was active in it. So this whole world is designed to restrain, abstain. Amanus biru. My mind is just moving a little bit, right? Hazrat Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib rahmatullah alayhi, he is responsible to dispense hadith in the whole India. In fact, in the whole world presently, most of the chain of the hadith is reported under the chain of Shah Abdul Aziz Sahib, who relates from his father, Shah Waliullah Sahib rahmatullah alayhi. This is how the sequence. Shah Waliullah Sahib, he got it from Medina, Shah Abu Tahir Madani, and then Shah Waliullah Sahib had passed it on to his son, and then so forth and so on, it went on. So the whole demographic of India and Delhi was different at that time. We're talking now approximately 250 years ago. The whole thing was different. There was a lot of bidat carrying on. And Shah Sahib's whole endeavor was to replace it with the Sunnah. So he came across one great bidati peer, right? And he invited him towards the Sunnah. So this peer is telling him, Shah Sahib, tum in quyud mein kahan tak rahoge? Until when will you remain in bonds and chains? See me, I drink, I enjoy myself with women, music, everything's happening, and I'm still a peer. See the things I can do. You know? Some of the things you can do like supernatural. But the supernatural thing that is done by a sinner is not a karamat. It's an istidraj. It's just the robe. So they do something, that they can do something supernatural, and people are attracted. So he's impressing upon Shah Sahib rahmatullahi, until when will you remain in the bonds of the Sharia? See me, I drink, womanize, do everything. And I've got a following, like nobody has got a following in the whole of Delhi. You know, Delhi is the heart of India, and my following is about the greatest. So come out of these shackles, and I'll take you to the palace of freedom. So Shah Sahib heard him out, and Shah Sahib asked him, all right, you see, Naseem Bhai, his name was Naseem. Naseem means cool breeze. Right? Naseem Bhai, I want to know your beginnings. So at the beginnings, perhaps your mother had sent you to a nursery. I said, yeah. And maybe the nursery teacher may have shouted you at times, right? Yes. And they may have whacked you also at times, right? And you were in the confines of the nursery at time. Before that, you were in the confines of your mother's womb, again confined, restrained. Order of restraint, right? Came out again, order of restraint, you can't move. You are totally dependent on your mother. Came of age, 4 years, 5 years of age, you subjected to the nursery, again you restrained. Then you came a little bit elder, then you had to go to a primary school. Didn't happen, yes. Restrained again, you couldn't move out of the parameters of the school. Then you went to a secondary school, all right. And then after that, what happened? Then I enlisted myself in the Indian Army, right? Then again, you were restrained. You had to get up at a certain time, do some exercises, go to certain fronts. Yes, we did all that. And then after that now, then you became a peer. Then when you became a peer, and you were a bidati peer, so your order is that chahar abruo ka safaya. Chahar abru ka safaya. You must remove 4 hair. 4 hair you must remove. The head, the moustache, right? The eyebrows, and the beard. So isn't it the case? Yes. We are of that silsila, and that silsila requires that we remove all these 4 hairs. तो फिर ये तो चेहरा नहीं, ये तो आलू है. Right? So Shah Sahib is trying to see, in this world, nobody can say कि मुझे मुकम्मल आज़ादी है. Nobody can say that I am free of all bonds. Nobody can say that. Right? You were, from the time that you were conceived, you were bonded, right, in bondage. Delivered, again in bondage. At the age of 4, again in bondage. 7, again in bondage. You caught it, you couldn't move, right? Then, when you were in the army, again in bondage. Now, as you are a peer, you are still in bondage. You have to remove all these 4 hairs. So, you are under the bondage of nafs and shaitan, and we are under the bondage of Rasulullah Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's the difference. You want bonds, you want bonds also. So nobody is free of bonds. To say, no, I'm a free person, liberate, that's not the right thing. Because you can't. You don't come of your own, you don't leave of your own. You're under captivity. And you have to remain in that captivity throughout your life. For your life to be enjoyable, you have to remain within that captivity. Now understand this, right? Understand, I'm trying to come across a point, right? One person was there, the madrasa, so he's telling me, ordinary person, simple people. So you get some simple people, they'll talk their hearts out. Jo kuch dil mein hai, keh denge. They won't mince their words, they'll say it as it were. So I've got a big family I'm living in. Then first, they spoke about photography, that you must be tolerant. So I was tolerant now. My family is telling me that, no, you must be tolerant at the birthday party, at a nikah, there's photos, there's some difference of opinion, so must be tolerant. So because of the family pressure, I buckled and I gave in. All right. Then after a few days, few months, then they told me, all right, intermingling all, you can't be so serious now. Mix up a little bit, friendly, you'll be breaking the family ties. So again, second level of toleration. One was now photography, it was in. Then the second level came in, now intermingle. Right? That was the second level. Then after I passed that hurdle, then they said, what about a little bit of music, some nasheeds and all that. They got some musical tones, though they call in they sung in Arabic, but there's a background music and all that's carrying on in a very subtle way. So listen to it now. Don't be too pious now. You didn't become a farishta now. So again I had to buckle down, relent again in the family pressure. I went on that. So 3 barriers I broke. This man is telling me that I broke the 3 barriers. Now I lost my cool. Because the last wedding I went, I was telling me about 3-4 months ago, there was a wedding, and there were young girls, scantily dressed, and they were dancing at a mixed crowd, men, women, everybody's clapping and enjoying. This got nothing to do with Islam now. I made a big noise and I got out, went away. Now I said, no, this thing here, I need to review the whole thing. I need to review the whole thing because the first thing, photography, he's telling me, right? He's a simple person, but good reasoning. no bias and no prejudice within his heart. See, on the day of Qiyamah, that heart will be a blessed heart. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. You come to Allah Ta'ala with a blessed heart. You come to Allah Ta'ala with a pure heart, no prejudice and no malice. These are the two things that get you off the course. One is prejudice and one is malice. And if the man has got no prejudice and bias and is no malicious, so his heart will be pure. So I will try to make the masla work because of some biasness or because of some prejudice. You know, this morning as I finished teaching, so one Mulana was accompanying me, so give me some advice. So I told him, see, we did the hadith today, that these great muhaddiseen, ulama, they would always advise their students, give them 3 advices. What are the 3 advice? Now great muhaddiseen like Imam Bukhari, all these people here, but they advising their students with three things. One is, man bada faqad jafa. The one that leaves living in a town area, built up area, he goes right into the farm, into the sticks, then he will lose his refinement. He won't be a refined person. So now I asked him, how do you add it up? How do you work that out, that you're going into the sticks and you lose your refinement? So it is easy. You lose your refinement in this way. When you're going into the sticks, right, you've got a big farm, right, 10,000 hectares, big massive farm you've got. So you're the one-man boss, but you've got animals and you've got some boys. So you're shouting that one, you're hitting this one here, you're banging this thing here, because there's no jurisdiction. The whole thing belongs to you. You're not scared of anybody, you're shouting, hitting, doing whatever you want. But as you come into a developed, built-up area, then you can't even hoot. Hey, be careful, don't hoot. And in a masjid, you can't even shout. You can't raise your voice. If you've got a right, democratic right, he's got a democratic right. You can express your opinion, he's got. So you're under a lot of supervision in a masjid, a lot of people. So you have to become refined in order to be able to live a nice, beautiful, pleasant life. So you understand that you're going to live right into the sticks, then this is going to happen. Bada faqad jafa. Man ittaba'a as-sayda faqad ghafala. The second advice I would give, man ittaba'a as-sayda faqad ghafala. That you made hunting a sport, right? Then you will definitely become negligent of your obligations. Man ittaba'a as-sayda faqad ghafala. You become negligent of your duties, because now is asr time going, right? And you can see a buck in the distance. You're pursuing it. Hey, I'll just get it now, I'll get it now. In the meanwhile, the asr namaz gone. Doesn't it happen? It's so near, and if I want to leave it now, I'm going to miss that opportunity. Now, asr namaz, Allah Pak will make maaf, you know. But I must get that thing. You're so near now, and it's so near, and you can just get it very easily. So if that becomes a sport, then you will then leave out your obligation. Obligations. Look at a person who's playing a game of chess, right? Is he conscious of time? He loses the conscious of time. He is oblivious. He's playing. He doesn't know what's going on. Playing and playing and playing. And he's carrying on. He is oblivious. Look at a person that is consumed by a phone. Isn't he oblivious of his surroundings? He doesn't know what's going on. He is so consumed into this thing here, he's gone. He's in another planet, he's totally. And the third piece of advice I would give, Man atas sultana faqad iftutina. Man atas sultana faqad uftutina. And person makes it his way to frequent the monarchs, wealthy, and the leaders, right? Then he will definitely then compromise in his deen. If he makes it his style to frequent wealthy monarchs and leaders, right, he will definitely then compromise his deen. So Muaz is asking me, he's also got about 20 shawls, this Maulana. So how this thing works? You told me how the first two works, how this thing works. So I say, you're going out to a wealthy person, and then he'll be talking about insurance or something, and in the back of your mind, you may think that is not the right thing to do. But now, gharib hai, main isko kahunga, I'm going to say him something, he's running my madrasa, all these things here. So what's going to happen now? So is your deen dented or not? Is it compromised or not? You're going to be frequenting, now you'll be looking for some favors. Favor, and not favor then fear. Right? Favor is replaced by fear. By this person is looking at me and my madrasa very nicely, very generously. And if I'm not going to be a little bit tolerant towards him, then there's going to be problems here. So let me just take him ghastly, take him easily, and inshallah in time will come right. So you will definitely dent your deen if you're going to be frequenting these people too much. There was a genuine need, it was a different thing. But now you're frequenting this thing here. So now you are sitting in his office and he's watching television. But there's some ikhtilaf in this thing, some difference of opinion now. Just let us not be too strict. But what's in the back of your mind, I'm getting some favors and some enjoyment. Now I'm going to talk about these things here now. Is it going to be the right thing? See how your mind is going to work. So there's no such a thing like freedom in this world. So this man is explaining to me, same man, and this I gave my own. This man said, see, I studied the whole thing. In my mind I studied the whole thing. Alright. They are talking about photography, right? Digital, etc., etc. So we don't want to go into the whole difference of opinion. But let's look at it from a different perspective altogether. Photography thing, or the digital photography, from a different perspective altogether. Let's look at it from this perspective, that it is a man and he's appearing on the screen. Majority of the viewers, according to the stats, are women, right? The man that's appearing on the screen, he's going to be dolled up. He's going to be dolled up by someone, then he appears on the screen. And all the dolls are going to look at him. They're going to be looking at him, they're going to admire him. I receive phones where women will say, we can't restrain ourselves, we look at him, we go and kiss the screen. Are we getting guna or not? Are we getting guna or not? Now see what happens. You see, they seen the person is too charming, hearts are attracting, right? Now they can't restrain themselves. And what they're doing. Now I ask you, if it's your wife and she's doing this, will you appreciate that? Will that be acceptable? Some days back, in some Arab country, I won't mention the Arab country, but there's a real case that happened, right? The child is sitting in the Haram Sharif with his father, right? So the child looks, as the people making tawaf, the child is looking on. And the child is staring at one particular person. So now the father asks, but why are you staring at this particular person? There's a lot of other people there, but this particular person? Say, Ma likes this person, she kisses him on the screen. He went back home and shot her dead, class. Arab news, you see. So the fitnahs that are associated. Now one is looking at it from one perspective, in the perspective that we want it to be. So we'll say it's a difference of opinion. But did we ever look at it from this perspective? I know one student, he did some hifz by us, and he went to Cape Town, right? And he says, this person was staying on a tour, right? He says, there wasn't a Cape Townian woman who didn't say that if I had a chance, I would have married this person. Every woman was saying the same thing. That I had a chance, and I would have married this man here. Then, because he's a student, I could talk to him a little bit informally. I said, what about your family? Hey, my family also disappointed. She said the same thing. But you see, you can't restrain. You're watching the thing, you're watching the person, and your restraint is broken down. You let down your guards. Now that happens to a woman. But you cannot say that men are farishtas. Can we say that? We are looking at women on the screen. Don't we feel attracted? Can we say that we don't have any attraction? Definitely will be attracted. If they are feeling attracted, then we are feeling attracted as well. Now, these differences of opinion, what are they supposed to be? How are you supposed to be reacting in a difference? So you see, Islam is complete, perfect. There is no deficiency in Islam. When it's perfect, it will tell you what to do at the time there is a difference of opinion. Nu'man ibn Bashir, the hadith is in Bukhari Sharif, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, everywhere. Siyasita, you'll find the hadith. He says, Al-halalu bayyinun wal-haramu bayyinun. Halal is clear, you know, right? You know the swine is haram, you know it, right? You know fish is halal, right? You know wine is haram. You know water is halal, right? Do you need anybody's clarification? Nobody's. But between these 2 points, there are going to be areas of doubts, mustabihat. What do you mean by doubt? There's contradictory evidence. There's evidence that this is not right, and there's some evidence that this is right. So that is the meaning of mustabihat, where the evidence is contradicting. Now, then Rasulullah gives his decision. What are you supposed to be doing when the evidence is contradicting? Are you supposed to be saying that there's a difference of opinion, let's carry on? Are you supposed to be saying, don't worry about the differences, just do what you feel like? So there's no speculation in Islam. Everything Rasulullah has given a guideline. So what was his directive in this regard? So his directive, clear directive in all the 6 Siyah kitabs, فَاسْتَنْزِهُ عَنِ الشُّبْهَاتِ. Refrain from all these type of doubtful areas. Right? If you do so, you will protect your izzat and your deen. And I am a witness that this is 100%, more than 100%. You know, some days ago, one person came, he says, you know, I come from such a good family, a respectable family, but I am addicted to alcohol. I can't stop it now. So I just in passing asked him, but what happened? You know, everybody is crying to you. So I asked him, what happened? So you see, because of the difference of opinion, I used to look at sports, you know. And I was a fan, sports, soccer, cricket. I used to be watching all this thing. And obviously these sports and all that is sponsored by some major conglomerate, right? We all know that. So sometimes it's a wine company, Lion, Ale, whatever, right? Now, they can't be just doing it like that. In the intervals, they will be giving some of the advertisements. Won't it happen? They must be giving some advertisements. Now, in that advertisement, they got a young girl, and it's nice, the ambience is too beautiful, young man, there's a cheer on the face, the man is pouring for her, and she's smiling away at him. He said, the way that picture had captured my heart, I said, there must be something in this thing, and let me try it out. You see that there's a shaitanic influence. You know, you say subliminal message. There's a message inside. So, you know, as much as I hated this haram, this napaki, but I saw that thing captured my heart. And my guards were dropped. Then I tasted it, and before I knew it, and then I was already drowning. Now I can't leave this thing. But you see how it starts? It starts in a very, very innocent manner. And Rasulullah taught us that when it's a doubtful area, leave it out. Don't experiment. Don't experiment with these things here. In the Hajjatul Wida, Fazl ibn Abbas is seated with Rasulullah. He's young, about 14, just coming up of age. 14, 15, that's his age, and he's seated with Rasulullah on one camel. So one Khas'amiyya woman, she comes in, and she's asking Rasulullah a masala. So she's asking, Anna Abi Shaykhan Kabiran Afa Ahujja anhu. My father is old now, can I do a Hajj badal on his behalf? And in the meanwhile, this girl is asking, she's very beautiful, and Fazl ibn Abbas also is very handsome. He is looking towards her, and she's looking towards him. आंखें आंखें से इशारे हो गए, हम तुम्हारे तुम हमारे हो गए. See, this eyes also they betray you, right? You cannot say that no, मैं देखूंगा, मेरा दिल तो बहुत ही साफ है. You cannot say that, right? If Rasulullah and the Quran Sharif is commanding the Sahaba, can you say you pure in the Sahaba Ikram? Can you say that? If they can become a victim, why can't you become a victim? She's looking at him and he's looking at her. Perhaps now, we will just say that because the Sahaba will say perhaps that normally when someone is asking a question, then you look at the questioner. But now Rasulullah saw that this girl is a chance, because she's too attractive and he's also handsome. So he says, رَأَيْتُ شَابًّا وَشَابَّةً فَلَمْ آمَنْ الشَّيْطَانَ عَلَيْهِمَا. رَأَيْتُ شَابًّا وَشَابَّةً فَلَمْ آمَنْ الشَّيْطَانَ عَلَيْهِمَا. I saw a young man, I saw a young woman, and I was really worried Shaitan can get the better over them. So Rasulullah moved Fadl's face into the next direction. What is hadith telling us? Just think, what is that hadith telling us? His Mubarak hands, and he turned the face of Fazl away. He is telling us, by the areas of fitna, don't you experiment, don't start it off. Don't ever start it off. Because then after that, to maintain that, it will be a real problem. It will be a real problem. You started it off, you pressed one button, now for the rest of your life now, you have to maintain this thing here. The moment you start it off, then you can't control it. So the right thing is, you can see now it's a doubtful area, just refrain, don't go near it. My one friend, he passed away now, but he used to come for Etiquette quite regularly. So they saw that when he passed away, Sahaba Kiram coming for his funeral, and who came? Sahaba, Nabi Sallam, everybody came for his funeral. More or less what I remember, right? So I asked his brother, but what was his secret? His secret was that he never made ghibat. And not only did he refrain from ghibat, if there was some discussion of ghibat, he would first caution them, and they persisted, he would move away straight. He won't fight with anybody. Caution them, this is not right. Let's discuss something else. But if they won't, then he'll move away. Says, bhai, aapka qabr hai. Aapko apni qabr ki taiyari karni hogi. It's your qabr life. You will have to look after your own qabr. One wealthy person came to me. He says, I went to the Qabristan. Very extremely wealthy. So he said, I went to the Qabristan and I saw my cousin or someone, and they asking each other, he is there and his cousin is there. All very well, extremely, super wealthy. So his cousin is there, and his cousin is asking, and where is Abbas' grave? Now this wealthy person is saying, but I won't want my sons to do this to me. That they don't even know where the father's grave is. See that? In a few days after your death, you're forgotten, lost in the soil, class. So you need to make the tayari for your grave, no matter who says what. Ikhtilaf or no ikhtilaf. But you will have to make the tayari for your grave. So you see now, this hadith, and you see this story here. He looked, and where this viewing way took him. A few days back, one person came, and he says, he's a high school teacher. He's teaching metrics and grade 11s, right? Grade 11s, grade 10, metric. He says, I just had to see one video on this algae, right? Just to see one. Now I can't restrain myself. I'm afraid now that I may rape one of the children here that are before me. Just one video was sufficient for me to mesmerize me. One thing, the way it mesmerized me, and I can't restrain myself. I'm seeing this, looking at these boys, and I'm afraid now, I may rape one of these people here, what will happen to me? But one of these things here, the doubtful thing, you see, Nabi Sallam's teaching is first tanzeel. So don't employ your reasoning against his Mubarak words. You'll definitely be a failure. Now, he went with all innocence, let me just see what happens. Because there's ikhtilaf now, let me just look at it. Now he said, I can't restrain myself. But when Nabi Sallam gave that teaching, then you were clever enough to say, there's a difference of opinion. Now when you fell down, when you're involved now you have to reel yourself out. How you will reel yourself out? Now it's too late. So these areas of suspicion, areas of doubts, then the safest thing, the best thing is, just restrain yourself. Don't experiment. You experiment in these things here, then you fall down, then you don't know how to come out of it. And then you don't know where to hide your embarrassment. Sometimes it's so embarrassing that you don't know where to hide your embarrassment. There was one case that came up to me, So he says, now this man is the crown witness, but he don't want to be the crown witness. I said, what happened? He's a crown witness to this whole thing, but he doesn't want to talk. He said, because the person that is going to give evidence against him, you're going to give evidence against him, right? So he knows something about this man here. It's an office environment, and everything is on camera. So you know that this person is involved in something wrong, and you're the crown evidence, right? But you don't want to give it because he knows that you were involved in something, some scandal in the office. There were some young girls, and you were doing some things there, and all that has got a photo, it's got a camera, it's on camera, and they know that they'll leak it out. Now I just have to remain silent. But you see, when you're doing all this mixed-up environment, living in a mixed environment, and then you say, no, it's not a big serious thing. Now, you can't, for your own respect and integrity, you can't give evidence. But that again, you go and experiment in the prohibited areas. So they say, no, don't go and do this thing here. But you see what happens. You go and experiment these things here, and now you became a victim, you can't even give evidence, you can't save the person out. But then why did you go into this thing here? You didn't need all these things here. You were an experiment, now bear the brunt of it. So you see where it goes. And nowadays, very quickly, you do something and very quickly you get exposed. So it's a time of fitna, and the safe thing now is don't go out unnecessarily. There's a need to go out. But the better thing is now just keep to the masjid, keep to your home, and people that you are absolutely certain about. Otherwise now, everything and every place is so captivating. You know where to go, what will happen to you in the next moment, the right person, bad person, good person, but what's going to happen to him in the next moment, you don't know. So, the teaching of Rasulullah at that time is then keep to yourself. وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ. That's the teaching. You're going to keep to his teaching, you are safe. But the moment you're going to try and employ your reasoning against his command, then you will have to face the brunt of all these things here. Anyway, now, that brother asked me about the wuzu. Some other time, inshallah. The hadith is in my mind, but I have to explain some other time. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم تب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين.